I am absolutely honored to have this next guest on the program. He was on the program back in 2012. That was the one and only time he was on the show. But how about this? What a great pleasure it is to have the former heavyweight champion, the baddest man on the planet, Iron Mike Tyson.
Really?
How about that? Mike, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. It's so great to see you. And by the way, I love the beard. I like this new beard that you got these days. It's very distinguished.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
My understanding, Mike, because I was just talking about PFL, my understanding is you're now involved with the Professional Fighters League. Is that accurate?
Yes, I would say that's accurate.
What are you doing for them?
Hey, I'm involved with them. I talked to the founder, Don, and we're just working together. See, and we're trying to build this organization where it could reign with any fighting organization. Because when you're really thinking about it, it's only Bellator and the UFC, isn't it?
Yeah, those are the main ones in the States for sure.
Absolutely. And how many fans are they? A couple of 100 million fans?
Something like that, maybe less even.
Yeah, it's enough for everybody.
Of course. Now, what do you think of their format? Because they have this Friday. You got to fight a couple times. I know you're used to this back in the day, not as a pro, but Golden Gloves. You used to fight a couple times, right?
Yes, did that. Absolutely, yes. Sometimes 3 times.
What's the most amount of times you fought on one night?
It could have been 3 times. Maybe I knocked 2 guys out and one was a bye. One guy didn't show up or something like that. I didn't have to fight.
How do you feel about? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying back then it was tough for me to get fights because I was young and I always had to lie about my age.
Really? Why?
Because I was too young to participate in the tournaments. The tournaments were always for guys 18 and up, 16 and up, and I was probably 14 or 15, so I always had to lie about my age.
What was the youngest age that you competed at?
14.
Wow, that is unbelievable. And you were knocking guys out?
Yes.
Unbelievable. Iron Mike Tyson. How about this? So great to have you on the show, Mike.
Awesome to be here.
How do you feel about pros fighting multiple times? You know, with everything that we know now about CTE and things like that, how do you feel about pros fighting a couple times a night?
It's pretty interesting. You know, you need more research on it, but it depends. So suppose the guy knocks everybody out in one round. Then it's good. Or suppose the guy have 3 wars and he's injured after 2 fights and he still has to go in and fight. Then that's something that we have to discuss as well, medically, that is.
Yeah. I know.
Say he wins the tournament, say he beats 2 guys, but he's pretty ravishly battered himself. Does he continue to go in and fight again with a fresh guy?
Then there's a bit of a mismatch, right?
Absolutely.
Are you joining us right now from the world-famous Tyson Ranch?
Absolutely. Their headquarters in El Segundo,
Los
Angeles, California.
For those that don't, I mean, it's an amazing thing what's happened to you, Mike, because I think you've enjoyed somewhat of a renaissance in your life. There was a time where maybe you were going down the path as you know, the ex-fighter who was robbed and didn't have anything to show for his career. But now it seems like, just looking at your social media, you've got your hands in a lot of different projects. You've got the podcast, the Hotboxing Podcast. You've got the Tyson Ranch. For those that don't know, how many things are you involved with right now?
Listen, it's me. I can't even remember them all. We have tell me about it. We have the carpet gel. It's just so many products. We have the drink. We have our fresh beverages, and we have an array of things going on. We have hotboxing, and everything's been overwhelmingly successful, and I'm really humbled.
How did you get into the cannabis business? Because this seems to be a big part of what you're doing right now.
Well, it really isn't. It appears to be, but it isn't. But let me explain it to you.
Okay.
I was shooting a movie. I believe it was Thailand somewhere, and my brother-in-law was discussing with the director, the producer of the movie, and he wanted to get into cannabis business. And somehow he made the pros and cons about it sound good, and it was no-brainer. So I was involved in the cannabis business. And the most important and more exciting than cannabis, and that's the pretty side, but the most important part about it is where we get our franchise and our finance from, the CBD, and that's pretty much taking over the world.
Yeah, everyone's using it. Like athletes are using it now to heal up. Back when you were fighting, this didn't really exist. I mean, I guess you could smoke marijuana, but that was the only way that you can actually get the benefits of this, right?
Absolutely. It's not from a perspective of getting like what you could call high.
Right.
So we're getting healthy more so than high.
Okay.
And that's the biggest perspective of it all.
Did you do that a lot when you were fighting?
No, when I was a young kid, I used to smoke, like in my amateur days. But then I stopped when I was 17 or 18, and I didn't smoke again, I guess, until I was like 33.
Okay. And there was this big story that came out recently saying that you're smoking like $40,000 a month. Is that accurate?
Well, not me myself. It's an array of people here that enjoy themselves and enjoy marijuana, and we smoke a great deal of it, yes.
Okay, and the podcast is Hotboxing Podcast. You have famous people who come by, including Kayla Harrison, the two-time Olympic gold medalist. She sat down with you,
Yeah,
right?
she was awesome. Yeah, she was really an awesome guest. She really has a brilliant warrior soul. She's just she's really an interesting woman. I was really honored to have her as a guest.
I enjoy the podcast very much, and also because I followed your career. I mean, you were one of those iconic figures when I was growing up. But at times, you had a bit of a contentious relationship with the media, and now here you are, the one booking guests, interviewing fighters and celebrities. What's it like for you to now have this role reversal where you're the one on the media side of things?
Hey, I have a great deal of, I don't think it's empathy, but sympathy for the athletes and the guests on my show. Formerly being one of them, I really understand, and I'm really cautious about what I say to them. I'm not intrusive, and I talk to them as human beings.
Would it be fair to say that throughout your career you felt like people didn't do that to you?
No, most of my problem was caused by me. It was my ego to tell me how dare they were to talk to me like that. Shouldn't they know better? And that was just ridiculous stuff. I didn't know who I was back then. I didn't know how to handle who I was. I didn't understand who I was back then. I didn't know my purpose back then. So I had no self-love back then, so I showed it by being vicious and ferocious.
Do you ever watch that old Mike? Are you able to watch him? Are you able to watch those interviews?
I don't like watching him, but I understand he's me. I never close the door on him or forget him, but I never want him in my life again or around anybody I love.
Why don't you like watching him?
Because that's not who I am now.
And so how did you
I don't even know that guy. I just don't know him anymore. He's almost like a stranger to me.
Wow.
I look at him and I'm proud of him and I think he's spectacular, but there's a real dark side there. A real dark that I don't like getting involved with anymore.
Do you remember how you were able to transition from that dark guy to this Mike Tyson that we see today? How were you able to do that?
Hey, it wasn't evil. It wasn't easy at all. It was doing a lot of inside. It was an inside job. It's just it's some really hard stuff, though. I'll tell you that. Get all that yucky stuff out of you.
Do you feel like you're officially removed from that guy, or is it still a work in progress?
Oh, it's always a work in progress. I am that guy. That guy can always show up somewhere. If I'm not cautious, if I'm not controlled of the way I think, my social environments.
Do you feel sometimes like if you get frustrated or upset or annoyed at someone that guy's starting to come out and you have to try to work?
I haven't felt that experience yet.
Okay.
I'm not saying it could never happen. I haven't felt it yet in a few years.
I referenced you recently in an interview that I did with Conor McGregor. As you may know, Conor's going through a bit of a tough time now, trying to figure himself out and trying to get back on track. And I'm curious, I asked him about not being the prototypical fighter who enjoys a lot of success and then sees it all kind of, go away, right? See it all because of mistakes that he made. And I know that you can sympathize with that. Can I play you a clip that Conor said about being aware of this and get your reaction to it?
Go for it.
Okay, here's Conor talking about that.
As far as like my fellow colleagues, I deserve to be called out on it. I deserve to be called out on that behavior. It's just unacceptable. There's no excuse to it. I deserve everything that comes my way with it. I need to just stop reacting to the bait. I've got to ask, like, people are trying to bait me into things. Am I the fish or am I the whale? I must be calm. I must be zen. I must lead by example. There's so many people looking up to me. How can I react in this way? I need to get a hold of this, and like I said, I'm working very hard to do this.
Do you sympathize with what he's saying there? You know, reacting to the bait, am I the fish or am I the whale? Is this something that you experienced as well?
You know, Conor has to look inside himself and say and do this. What happened? Why am I the way I am? And how do I stop this from continuing to be?
You've met him before, right?
Oh yeah, I think he's an awesome guy.
I think he came to one of your shows, correct? In Ireland?
Yes, in Ireland he did, yes.
What did you guys talk about?
He was we were just happy to see each other.
Okay,
He was looking real good.
do you read about some of the things that he's doing, like, you know, the problems that he's having, and does any of it remind you of some of the fighters that maybe even yourself about, like, that train?
Absolutely. Listen, we don't know how to handle this stuff. We got millions of dollars. We never had this. Our family never had this. We never been around this life. How all of a sudden that people you start fighting, doing something you love to do, and you do it easy and it looks easy, and all of a sudden they give you a lot of money for doing it, but you don't have you don't have no restraint. You don't have no control. You don't know what to do. You give it away. You buy people gifts that don't deserve these gifts. You just don't know what to do with it. You feel you don't deserve it.
And no one really is there to kind of help you figure it out, right? Because you're just kind of figuring it out as it goes along, and you win all this money, and all of a sudden you're the man.
They don't know how to figure it out. They don't understand it. They never had it either.
Right.
You know. You feel it's almost like you don't feel deserving of it. I say I don't deserve this. I'm nobody. How come I deserve this? This is what I like to do. I just like to fight. You give me something I like to do, I'll do this for nothing.
You know, the first time I ever had you on my show back in 2012, I asked you about MMA and boxing, and you said something to me which stuck with me, and I was reminded of this yesterday, where you said, like, you want to see the MMA fighters make more money. You want to see them driving the fancy cars. You think that they should be making way more than they're making. Conor was kind of the first one to really break through that glass ceiling and start to make, you know, $100 million. Do you feel like now the fighters are more, you know, the MMA fighters are more on an even playing field with the boxers, or still not yet? Because you were very passionate about this, very fired up.
Listen, the MMA guys are as big as the fighters are. There's no doubt. But why aren't they making the money that the fighters are making? How come more people are watching MMA than they're watching boxing? And boxing is making 3 times or 5 times more money than the MMA guys.
Why do you think
now,
that
why
is?
is that? No, you tell me.
Well, I have a couple theories as to why that is.
Let's hear them.
Well, I think that the boxing model lends itself to the fighters making a lot more money, because here you have one organization, the UFC, which is a dominant brand, which for the longest time was the only game in town. And, you know, when there's one game in town, you can afford to kind of dictate how much the fighters are going to make. In boxing, there's multiple promoters. You can be sort of the king of your own castle. You can be your own promoter like Floyd became, and thus you can control and get a bigger piece of that pie. And so the way MMA was structured for so long, there wasn't enough players. These days, there's a little more. The fighters are making more, Bellator, PFL, etc. So they're starting to make a little more, but it's nowhere near. I mean, Triple G just made $15 million for his last fight. There's only like one or two guys that can make that.
So check this out, right? A guy like Conor McGregor. So say this. I'm a superstar. I'm going to fight Floyd. I'm going to make money. I'm a big star. So imagine if the organization said this to him. Hey, Conor, I need you to be involved in this business. You need to be an executive for this business. For other fighters can see that not only are you a fighter, you could be involved with running the business. And so from that perspective, more fighters will come to that organization.
Yep. He's talked about that.
Opportunity to be executives, bosses, and running their own organization. Now we're building corporations, administrating self-wealth across the world.
So
we're building. We're gone. We're not living no more. The organizations, the corporations, they're still building. They're still living.
So would it be fair to say you like the boxing model still better than the MMA model?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But listen, the love that the MMA have, the camaraderie with the fighters, it's just second to none. You can't compare that with the fighters, because the fighters are individuals in which they have an organization. This is my gang. This is your gang. It's a fight. We're not friends or anything. We're just here. It's us. And anybody in MMA is more of a. It's more like a group. It's more like a club.
That's interesting.
Like I've been to an MMA rules meeting before, and they have all the fighters together.
Yeah.
And somebody dictates, and this is your guys got to put up good fights, and the best fighter is going to get a bonus, and this and that, whatever. You know, sometimes for fighters, or at least in my time, it's hard to even get guys in the same business. I wouldn't even be in the same room with the guy I was going to fight. Unless it's going to be a bunch of staring and talking shit to one another. Excuse me. Yeah, it's just awesome to see that happen.
Did you have anxiety before your fights? Like, did you ever think, like, what am I doing here? Should I just leave this arena right now? Did you feel that way?
Absolutely. That's so strange you say. You asked an interesting question. But by the time I feel that way, by the time I'm walking into my arena, I think I'm a god. I think it's just a joke that I'm even here because whoever's going to fight me is just as good as dead. And how do I come from being scared and frightened to being that guy? And that's because I'm doing repetition of doing it every day and believing who I am every day and saying my affirmations every second on the day. And it's just, it has a lot of psychological aspects to it too. Fighting is just an amazing act. There's so much, physical is just 1% of it. If you look at it from that perspective, it's all spiritual and mental, psychological.
Up until what point did you get nervous in the process? Like, was it up to fight day, or was it earlier where that nerve, those anxious feelings would turn into that confidence?
The day they told me I had to fight him is when the nerves started.
And then when did they go away?
Second I got in the ring.
Wow. That is fascinating. Unbelievable. By the way, who inspired you to wear the all black, like the towel over your body and then the black shoes and the black shorts? That was iconic stuff. Who gave you that idea?
I used to watch the old fighters. And when I first started fighting, you notice I used to wear white and green, blue shorts, the Irish color shorts that I got from the Irish Olympic team. And so I used to wear shorts like that. Then eventually I just started wearing black because I saw Jack Dempsey and those guys fighting, and they looked really ominous. And that's why I saw that. And I said, those guys in the 20s and the teens, they look real ominous. Even some of them weren't great fighters, but they looked like they were tough and ominous. And so I decided to wear that image of all black, no teeth, no robe, anything, because it gave the impression of really bad stuff was going to happen.
And the heavyweight division right now is on fire. You were the face of the heavyweight division for many years. How do you feel about the state of the heavyweight division? And I'm just curious, who do you think is the best heavyweight boxer that is on the planet right now?
Wow, there's a bunch of guys. Tyson Fury is pretty awesome. Dante Wilder is pretty. It's just a bunch of great fighters, man. Anthony Joshua, because he lost, he's still an awesome fighter. I don't have him wiped off by any means. Andy Ruiz, we did him on our show. He's a wonderful guy. You just want him to stay champion because you love him affectionately. He's just an awesome guy.
Yeah, I know you had him on a recent episode. Yeah, are you still there?
Yeah, he was. Yes, I'm here. He was just really a nice man. So you don't know. It's everything even fighter. These guys are all even. That's what makes it so exciting. If one guy was in the division wiping everybody out, then it would be he's gonna win. It wouldn't be exciting. But these guys are all even. Anybody could beat anybody.
And I'm wondering, I don't know if you saw this, but Tyson Fury actually made an appearance on WWE television, and apparently he's going to be doing a match for them. Reminded me of you, and it's kind of coincidental that we're talking to you now. You were very famously involved in a WWE angle back then. WWF with Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold. Do you have fond memories of doing that?
Oh, some of the best times of my life. Yes.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Never forget them. I'm in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's one of the greatest moments of my life. Yeah, I have to say that.
You grew up a fan, right?
100% before boxing ever existed in my life.
Did you ever consider actually being a pro wrestler before a boxer?
100%. Man, what I used to do is I used to wear what was my mother's and my sister. I wear her panties. I put on some underwear under her panties, and I put a T-shirt on, and I put some T-shirts around my knees to make them knee pads, and then I think I was a wrestler.
Wow. Who was your favorite?
Bruno Sammartino.
That was your guy?
Yeah.
Why him?
He was a great champ. He was the Joe Louis of his day. He had so many titles, defenses. He had the title for 12 years. He won the title when I was born, I think.
Wow, that is amazing.
He lost it when I was 12 years old, something like that.
And so when they reached out, was it you who reached out, or was it they who called you to be a part of this angle initially?
I believe they called me, and it was at the time when I lost my fighting license when I bit Evander.
Yeah.
And they came and listen. I didn't have these guys had just wiped me out financially. I had to pay the $3 million, and then I had these people called me, and I just made a bunch of money. These people were very generous, and that really helped me at that really crucial time of my life.
Was there ever any talk for you to actually wrestle?
I did wrestle. You never saw me wrestle? You better look at WWE, man.
What do you mean? I saw you like punch Shawn Michaels, but you didn't do an actual match.
No, you go and say Mike Tyson tag team wrestling on WWE.
Okay.
Go check that out.
All right. What about singles match?
No, it wasn't singles. It was a tag team.
Who was your tag team partner?
Man, just look at the show. Mike Tyson tag. I forgot.
Okay.
I don't know. It was Coco Beware. One of those guys. Some guys. Now watch me. I'm giving guys the hip lift and everything. I'm slamming guys. This is awesome. Check it out.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Do we have a few more minutes with you, Mike, or do you have to run?
Go ahead.
Okay. And so when I saw Tyson there, it reminded me of you. Of course, Tyson, named after you. He was on your podcast recently, right?
Absolutely.
What an honor, right, to have a guy named after you who's doing so well as a heavyweight champion.
Hey, listen. That blows my mind. Know why that blows my mind?
Why?
Because when I was a little kid, and country say, if you listen to me, people name their kids after you. People name, stores after you. People name stuff, and he told me that. And look what happened.
It's incredible. Did you know that before you met him?
No, I had no idea.
Right. And so do you feel like
I thought he was some European guy named Tyson. That's a European name, so I thought that was that's why he was named Tyson. I had no idea.
It's incredible. And fans can listen to the podcast. It's wherever you get your podcast these days. Mike's working with PFL. PFL is having their first playoff show this Friday on ESPN Plus and ESPN2.
Yes, PFL. I'm with PFL. We're going to take over the world. We're going to have a ball, and it's going to be on and popping.
By the way, Mike, I want to ask you, I was on the Dan Le Batard show recently, and they asked me, in his prime, who would have won in a no-holds-barred fight, Mike Tyson or Bruce Lee? I picked you. Was I right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Was I right or was I wrong?
Hey, I like to think you were right, too. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if Bruce Lee really could beat me in a fight, I would really say, fuck, this is an interesting world. Because that should not happen.
Well, it's anything goes. So he could kick, he could knee, he could do a bunch of stuff. You could just punch.
Listen, can I tell you something?
Yes.
All right, so fuck. So that's almost like me and Floyd having a street fight.
What do you mean?
He's the same size as Floyd. No, he's 135 pounds.
Right.
So that's like, what's the guy Davis name? Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, Tank.
That's me and Tank fighting.
Okay, size difference.
Well, you tell me no me and Tank fighting. And Tank got the greatest skills in the world. I'm watching out, and he's fighting me. Me and Tank.
Obviously, you would win if it's a boxing match, but I thought maybe
No.
Oh.
It's an all-out fight. Me and Tank is fighting.
Oh, you.
Bruce Lee's the same size as Tank.
I pick you over any of those guys. That's why I picked you over Bruce Lee.
All right, but I'm not saying disrespectful or egotistically.
No.
This is me and Tank. This is the size difference. Me and Tank fighting, and Tank is the greatest martial artist in the world. And, that's what I'm saying. That's just all I'm saying.
You and Evander, are you on good terms? I know he was on your show recently.
I love Evander. Yeah, he was pretty awesome.
You guys buried the hatchet?
Yes, thank God I did. Yeah, I did.
When did that happen initially? Was it on the show, or did you have any conversations before?
No, it happened a long time ago. We did that on Oprah Winfrey or something, man.
Yeah, but do you feel like it was reciprocal on his end?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, heck. All right.
You got to go.
Dude. Thank you.
Yes, Mike, all the best to you. Keep it up, my man. And I hope
love you, brother. Nice seeing you.
I hope that you
success going.
Yes, okay. I wish you the best with PFL and all the endeavors that you're working on these days.
Thank you, brother.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.